Hi design class. So in this video I'm going to show you how to start sketching and create your first set of design ideas. So the first thing you want to do is write down your creative brief, which is the same thing as your thesis statement. And then you're going to do something called a visual brain dump. And this is from a book called Graphic Design Thinking that's available on D2L. So please take a look at some of these pages that I'm showing. A couple of things that I learned from this book and from my experience was that when you start sketching, you need to just go for it. Don't really spend too much time thinking. And keep in mind you've already finished doing your visual research, and what that's going to do is really sort of put some ideas in your mind that you can go on a piece of paper and just kind of dump it out. So here what I'm doing is creating some icons and writing some text down based on my creative brief, which is to create a fillable journal to help me get my vitamins and minerals, or just kind of keep track of the vitamins and minerals that I'm getting. So here what I'm doing is creating little ways to track things. I went by looking at calcium first, creating like a little bar and thinking about how I would fill that in. And then I thought like maybe I'll do like a glass of milk or something to show, instead of like a bar, you can kind of show like how much I've drank that day. So I can keep track of my vitamin D or my calcium. Here what I'm doing is writing the word down iron, and I'm trying to give it like a font that kind of matches its personality. So the word iron kind of makes me think of like something heavy and like strong. So I'm also drawing like a little dumbbell here, and what that's called is a forced connection. And basically what a forced connection is to figure out some connections that you have and put them together, including combining styles, messages, or functions. So here I am looking at the word iron. I thought of the icon for like a dumbbell to show like iron. So I'm writing that down. And then I also wanted to kind of think about how I want to organize this journal or tracker or whatever you want to call it. So I'm taking notes as well. So I'm thinking about like, okay, do I want to track it per week? Do I want to think about days, what meals I'm eating, things of that nature. So when it comes to organization, that's like a really important part of your design, because that's what's going to allow for the viewer or the user to really understand like what you're talking about, and have a like an easy time understanding what you're trying to communicate. I'm drawing some more icons based on some of the terms I'm looking at. So when you think of minerals and vitamins, of course, you're going to think of vegetables and fruit. So I'm just practicing drawing some of these icons, what they might look like, simplifying them. And then here I am looking at the word sodium and thinking about how I want to kind of activate that word sodium. So I thought about like what salt is, and I drew like a little icon based on salt. And this is called activating an idea. So you're taking an idea or an icon like salt, and you're trying to like start with a basic concept and then adding some actions to it to represent that thing a little bit better. So instead of just writing the word sodium, I'm choosing to like draw something that looks like salt is sprinkled all over it, or just using dots to spell out the word sodium. So that takes it from being just like a nice text to something that carries meaning and can be really interesting to look at, fun to look at, and also kind of just like when you start looking at the same thing over and over again, you're not actually reading, but you're just kind of looking at the drawing and understanding what I'm talking about. So here I am thinking a little bit beyond vitamins and minerals. So I started looking at proteins, carbs. So I have like little circles drawn that I thought like I would fill out, but they kind of look like beans, and that made sense with protein because beans have a lot of protein in it. So that made me think of like, okay, how can I do icons for like carbs? So I did like little pieces of rice. So those are the things that you can kind of color in, you know, if you're getting enough carbs or enough protein, fat, things like that, water, and just kind of like refining those little things. So maybe I can just use the icon of a bean or a rice to represent those words instead of actually just writing down those words. And then meanwhile, while I was doing that, I kind of realized that maybe it was getting too much and it needs to be a little bit more organized. So then what I decided to do was just focus on the idea of fruits and vegetables, and kind of taking the whole idea of like calorie stuff out of it, because I do want to keep everything really positive and I want this thing to work for me. So I took a little break from thinking about like icons, and then I started doing some sketches on how I want to organize everything. So organizing this, I'm thinking of like what the size would be. Maybe they're like little cards or something, and what they would look like. Then I thought, okay, I think a good goal would be like to figure out how many vegetables and fruits that I'm getting. So just keeping it really simple, not really going into like, you know, how much vitamin C, because, you know, that could be kind of hard to understand if you're not a nutritionist or if you're not like super into keeping track of those things. So, I thought a better way would be to create like a little index card that I can daily just keep track of like how many vegetables and fruits I eat. So according to my research, like my size, my activity level, I should be getting like 7 cups or 7 servings of vegetables and 3 servings of fruit every day. Okay, so what I'm doing here is like thinking of, okay, it's really simple, right? So the little tracker cards, they might turn out kind of boring. So I want to make them a lot more interesting. So how do I actually do that? So what I'm doing here is just making it really simple. I'm turning little things that I might count into drawings, and just kind of thinking it through. Okay, so this is kind of like my design process on this whole thing. I would recommend like taking a little break, going back to it and keep going. Maybe take a couple of days, like spend like 30 minutes, 2 or 3 days to really kind of like figure it out and just keep going, taking breaks until you're happy with a direction. And I realized that I ended up changing my creative brief or editing it a little bit more, and that's totally fine at this point. And it is encouraged. So keep drawing, coming up with ideas, and sketching and refining your thoughts.